They called it the smile of death. What started as an isolated mystery in early 2023 quickly spiraled into one of the most chilling psychological cases in recent memory. Victims were found dead, with no signs of struggle, no physical trauma, and no toxic substances in their system. But what made it truly disturbing was that every single victim had the same thing: a wide, unnatural smile frozen on their face. The first was Emily Grant, a 28-year-old graphic designer in Chicago. She was found in her apartment, sitting on her couch, eyes open, mouth stretched into a grin that was far too wide to be natural. Her friends described her as healthy, happy, no enemies, no threats. There were no drugs in her system, no evidence of foul play. It was as if her body simply stopped. At first, police treated it as a freak occurrence. But then came Kevin Holmes, found dead in his parked car 3 weeks later, same city, same eerie smile. Then another, and another. By spring, 6 people across Chicago had been discovered dead with the same disturbing expression, as though they died laughing, or worse, as if they'd seen something that drove them to madness in their final moments. That's when media picked it up and gave it a name: the smile of death. Social media exploded with conspiracy theories, everything from supernatural forces to a new designer drug. But there was no evidence to support any of it, until one blurry piece of surveillance footage cracked the case wide open. A man in a gray hoodie was caught talking with one of the victims just hours before their death. He never touched them, never acted violently. But what stood out was his expression. He was smiling, unblinking, almost frozen. It was the same kind of smile they died with. The man was identified as Dr. Caleb Voss, a disgraced neuroscientist who vanished after being fired from the University of Chicago in 2019. He was known for his controversial experiments on brain stimulation, specifically targeting the brain's pleasure centers. Records showed he had been developing a neurochemical compound called JoyX, designed to trigger intense, artificial euphoria. But the drug had horrific side effects: severe psychological breakdowns, hallucinations, heart failure, and, in every case, death. Voss believed he could give people a perfect death: euphoric, painless, blissful. But it wasn't painless. According to recovered video diaries, the victims smiled because they had no control over their facial muscles. They were conscious, aware, and suffering, trapped in their own bodies while the drug overloaded their systems. When authorities finally located Voss in a secluded cabin in Wisconsin, he was surrounded by notebooks, test vials, and recordings of every experiment. Before he could be taken alive, he injected himself with his own creation. He died smiling, just like his victims. His final words, scribbled in a journal, were chilling: "Pain is a lie. I gave them peace." The case was closed, but questions still linger. How many had he tested it on? Did anyone else help him? And more disturbingly, did someone else take the formula? Rumors suggest that JoyX may still exist, floating through the dark corners of the web, waiting for someone curious, or reckless, enough to try it. And so, the smile of death remains not just a case file, but a warning. Because sometimes, the scariest thing isn't a scream, it's a smile. If this story disturbed you, you're not alone. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true crime and dark mysteries. Thanks for watching Dark Files, and remember, stay alert, and stay alive.